Hello and welcome to the Knit Shift episode 104. My name is Laura and today is Thursday, March 15th, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me today and checking out my podcast, whether you are a first-time visitor to the Knit Shift or we have chatted before. I really do appreciate it. As I said, my name is Laura. I live near Washington, D.C. with my boyfriend Josh, our dog Gracie, and a whole lot of yarn. So if you are new here, I am a journalist and I live with the two of them and a lot of yarn. That's my story in a nutshell. So it's been a few weeks since I last spoke with you. I wish it could have been sooner, but things have just been just a little bit hectic around here between work and travel. I went to New York City for a day last week. I was there barely 24 hours. I don't even think I was there 24 hours. And then a couple days later, I went to Ohio to celebrate my niece's first birthday. So it's been an exciting few days around here, busy. I went back to work and it's been go, go, go. So I am thrilled to be back with you today. I'm leaving for work in a little bit, but I had just a little time before I have to leave and I thought, you know what? This is a perfect time to record a podcast. I have so much to share with you today. I'm looking at a bajillion skeins of yarn that came home with me between New York and Ohio. So much so that I had to upgrade my suitcase situation at my parents' house. Shout out to mom and dad for having a suitcase collection that I could swap one out and take a bigger suitcase back home. So thanks for that. So we'll be talking about that. And I also have 3 works in progress to share with you today. I'm looking at my pile around me at the desk. So yeah, let us get to it. Oh, admin stuff. Well, you can tell I'm rusty. I'm forgetting all the typical stuff. This podcast is available on iTunes and YouTube. If you just search for the Knit Shift, either place you'll find us. There's someone walking by the window, so I'm guessing Gracie will bark. So let's see, maybe not. The show notes can be found at theknitshift.com. I am on Ravelry as Yarnstormer, and I am on Instagram as Laura Mahalski. And if you go to the groups tab on Ravelry, you will find our group for the podcast. So I wanted to apologize. Speaking of Ravelry, I got a really lovely PM from someone, and I had been talking about in my last episode about my cashmere socks that I knit for my birthday, and this person sent a lovely note, and I believe they suggested to wear like the peds, like the little footy socks inside your cashmere socks, and that'll help help them wear better. I was reading your message in bed with my laptop like balanced on my stomach and, you know, doing that slouch that we all do, not to look like Frankenstein or something, but I was, you know, doing that thing where you're slouched with the laptop on yourself. And I must have had my finger like hovering over the delete key, and then like Josh, my boyfriend, elbowed me. And I accidentally deleted your message, and Ravelry will not, once you hit delete, it's gone. There's no getting it back. So I feel really bad. So to whomever sent me that message, thank you and I'm sorry for not replying. I do hope you see this and don't think I was rude. So because I do try to respond to every message that I get. So apologies for that. I yelled at Josh and he was like, what did I do? I just moved. But you know how those things go. It was just a fluke. So apologies. So I think that is it for admin stuff. I'm still trying to find a good spring knit along for us. I'm thinking about something sock related, so stay tuned for that. So let us get to works in progress. Speaking of socks, I have a little bit of progress of sock progress to show you. I have a hoe. I have finished one sock in this lovely opal Hunter Wasser sock yarn that was a gift from my friend Casey. This is so much fun. This is my first sock with the afterthought heel from Susan B. Anderson. I'm blanking on it and the pattern is across the room. Let me go get it. It's the Smooth Operator sock. Brain fart. I just took a class literally a month ago with Susan B. Anderson for that pattern. So it's my first Smooth Operator FO. I am very happy with how the heel fits. I did mess up a little bit. You can see that this one half of the sock heel is angled a little. This side of the heel is longer than this side. I messed up the decreases. I did a center double decrease On this sock, I liked the look of the center double decrease better. I think it will wear better versus the two knit two togethers, which is another option in the pattern. The two knit two togethers, they kind of pull apart when you tug a little bit, and I didn't like the look of that on the sock that I did for the homework for the class. I do like this pattern a lot. I have tried this on even with my wonky heel. It fits just fine. There's less of a gap where the heel and the gusset meet, which is great. So far so good. This sock was knit in practically no time between all of my travel. I think I was here before I went to Ohio, and I finished it in Ohio this weekend. So I've already cast on the mate, and I am practically to the afterthought heel, to putting the waist yarn in. So here is where I am on the second sock. This is just my general generic sock, vanilla sock pattern. I think I cast on 36 or 32, increased every second round until I got to 64 stitches, and then I'm just carrying on up. And this is a US 1 Carbons needle. I like these very much, though I have to say the join on these isn't super great where the black metal hits the silver tip. They're just a little bit, it's hard to see, but they're just not totally precise. You can see it on this needle a little bit. It's just a little too, the silver is a little too big. So it's catching a little bit, which I don't love. But that's the first time I've had that happen with a pair of Carbons, so we'll see. So I'm hoping, but I'm confident by the next time I record an episode that this sock will be finished. I'm very excited about that. And they're for me, they're not for anyone else. So my next work in progress is a sweater I've been working on, and you guys have seen this before. This is the Grace Cardigan by Jane Richmond. It's a paid for pattern, comes in a ton of sizes, super size friendly, plus sizes, smaller sizes. I think there's like about a dozen sizes, which is fantastic. So I have made just a little bit of progress, not a ton. I have a story to tell you about my progress. So there's a lace front on the cardigan, and then it moves into stockinette stitch. And so I don't know where I was last time. I've probably knit 3 or 4 inches since last time. I was probably right around here after the second decrease. So it doesn't look like much, but that's about 3 inches of progress, I think. Yeah, 3 or 4 inches. So, story about this. I had to rip out a bunch of my progress and pick up all of the stitches. I keep this in a fiber space bag, which is my local yarn shop. It's where I got the yarn from. The yarn is Miss Bab's Kira, which is a merino, 100% merino, gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. This is the colorway Oyster. I love this colorway. It's so mottled. You can kind of see the subtle variation when I hold it up at a distance versus really close. I am alternating skeins, which I'm quite pleased with. I don't see much of a difference in the cakes. I've used one cake completely. I have 4 skeins. I think they're about 560 or 600 yards a pop. And I have 4 skeins, so I have 2,400 yards of fingering weight yarn, which is going to be more than plenty, I'm confident. I'm alternating the second and third skeins, and I have 1 left for the sleeves. I probably will start, depending on how far I get with these, I might start working the 4th skein in the body. We'll see. I'm confident this is more than enough for the rest of the body, but I might want to alternate just so that the sleeves aren't entirely the 4th skein of yarn, just in case there's a color variation. So, I keep this in this fiber space bag, and I keep it over my shoulder. Like you guys can see the pillows. That's kind of my knitting spot over there. There's an end table there. I keep I usually keep a project or 2 on the end table on the other side of the pillows. This usually lives in its bag on the floor because it is so big and bulky. So I was getting ready to vacuum. I live in an apartment with tile floors, but I do have a rug in the living room here. And Josh was home and he was like, "Oh no, I'll vacuum, I'll do it." And I was like, "Okay, fine, sure." So he like took the vacuum from me because I'd been wheeling it out. And so he starts vacuuming, and all of a sudden, like I don't think I was in the room, but like I hear the vacuum like the noise it makes when it sucks something up. He did not move my project bag before he vacuumed, and it caught up part of the bag and the yarn in the vacuum. Like, you know, it's one of the, I have one of those tall Dysons, so like the big, it was all in the bar across the bottom. And I didn't want to, like, I was panicking inside, but I didn't want to like panic externally to him. And so he stopped the vacuum and was unwinding the thing because it was all wrapped up around the rotating little tube in the vacuum. Thankfully it hadn't like gone all the way to like the canister with the dust and the dirt and all that. But it's still gross in there, like, let's be honest. So he unreeled as much of it as possible, but we did have to cut the yarn. Thankfully it wasn't super close to the body of the sweater, or so I thought at that moment. We cut the yarn. I was like, that's fine, it's no problem, it's just at the end of the row, I can easily start a new piece of yarn there, whatever, you know, no harm, no foul. And then I looked more closely at the sweater, and further up, like probably like 10 rows up, there had been, like where I started, the new skein of yarn, so there had been like a loose end, and that had been among the pieces that got caught up in the vacuum, and it had pulled a row of the yarn in the sweater super tight. There was no give. Like, the fabric on this sweater, let me get it back out. The fabric on the stockinette part, like, this is nice and stretchy, you know? Like, you guys can see the give, it's really nice. But there was this piece of yarn, like, it had just gotten sucked up in the vacuum and had pulled one row super tight. There was like no give. And I tried to like use my needles to like pick apart the rows a little bit, like kind of untension them, and even that didn't work. And so I'm getting more and more panicky because there's like, you know, how many hundreds of stitches on this sweater right now. And it was, thank God it was only like an inch or two up. It could have been all the way like back at the armpit and I would have been extra PO'd. I mean, I was PO'd, let's be honest, but it was maybe like from here, it was like here. So maybe an inch. So I decided I had no choice, but I had to frog it to that point and pick it back up. So it took me multiple tries. Like, I picked up the stitches before I went to frogging, and that didn't work. You know, I was trying to like pick up the right leg of each stitch in a row, because you can do that. You can, while it's on the needles, you could use another needle and pick up like the right leg of each stitch. So like right here and right here and right here. Except it's really hard to guarantee you're on the same row the entire way across. So like I was picking up stitches, but then I would drop down a row, and then I would drop down a row, and then I would drop up a row. So I wasn't picking up an entirely even row, if that makes sense. So I had no choice. I had to just hold my breath and take the needles out and rip it out beyond the point and then put the needles back in, which was much easier in the end. I thought a lifeline would be the way to go. I just couldn't do it. It was too tricky. So there were tears. Josh felt really bad. I was not trying to play up my my sadness. I was really crushed because I'm so motivated to finish this sweater. I still have a ways to go on the body because I am tall and I'm not tiny, but I'm so excited to keep going on the sweater and finish it and have it to wear this spring. So, crisis averted, hooray, hurrah, but it was a little scary there for some time. And my final work in progress to share with you today is a baby sweater I'm knitting. This is in my Lara bag, which was a gift from my friend Emily for my birthday in February. I love this so much. Now that I'm using it, oh my gosh, it's my favorite project bag. So a friend of mine is expecting a baby, and it's too soon to know if it's a boy or girl, but I wanted to knit something like with good juju for her as she goes along this process. This would be baby number 2. So I started a baby surprise jacket. Elizabeth Zimmerman classic, I almost said classic recipe, but it is a recipe. It's not just a pattern. If you're familiar with Elizabeth Zimmerman, you know what I'm talking about when I say her patterns are less patterns than they are like general ideas of how to possibly knit something. They're very vague. They are not super helpful if you need a lot of instruction. That being said, the Baby Surprise Jacket has an amazing wiki on Ravelry. If you go to the project page, or I'm sorry, if you just go to the general pattern page for Baby Surprise Jacket, you will see there's a wiki page with lots of helpful stuff, and there are some spreadsheets to help you keep track of your rows. I don't know which, there were several linked, but the wiki is out of date. Like, some of them take you to broken links, but I've been keeping track. I got one of them that still existed, and so I've been keeping track of my rows like so. So these are, to get the pattern, it is a paid for pattern. It's available in a couple of her books, and I believe it is sold through Schoolhouse Press, which is the publishing arm of her business. She's not alive anymore, of course. It's her family business now. But these kind of spreadsheets do not give away the pattern. It's just more to help you. It's kind of a little extra material to help you with the pattern, I would say. So don't be afraid. Don't be worried that you're like not supporting the artist, or, you know, you're not cheating the system by using one of these spreadsheets. You're helping yourself, frankly. So I am using Oregon Red Clover Honey, which is a Socks That Rock colorway. This is medium weight, which is the sport weight, and it's this lovely orangey rust, perfect for a fall baby pattern. So yeah, I really like this. I've had this in my stash for, no kidding, a decade, so I'm thrilled to put it to use. So as you can see, it looks nothing like a sweater. If you are not familiar with the Baby Surprise Jacket, it's basically you knit a piece of fabric that's flat, it's garter, and then you fold it, and voila, you have a baby sweater. So the sleeves, so I can kind of show you, it's starting to take shape. Let me fold it here. I have knit definitely 2, probably more like 4 or 5 of these sweaters over time. So this is what the one sleeve will look like. I mean, it's not done. Clearly I have a lot more knitting to do. See, I'm already messing it up. It's like you look at this and you're like, there's no way this is going to become a sweater, except it is. So here's what one little sleeve will look like, the start of it at least, and I'll seam it here. And then it's hard because like the needles are in it, so it kind of doesn't want to cooperate. And so the back, the collar, it's like this is the little sweater. Like, this is the back of the collar, these are the little sleeves. So it's really hard to visualize, but trust me, it will become a sweater. Really loving this. I'm using, I think, size 4, possibly size 5. These are size 4, 3.5 millimeters. So I really like the fabric it's making. Obviously, I'm not in a super huge rush because the baby isn't due until like late September, early October. But yeah, I'm enjoying a lot. I'm enjoying this baby knit quite a bit. Let me check my notes to see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about work in progress wise. I think that's it. So I'm gonna intersperse, I'm gonna talk about yarns next, which is my segment to talk about new acquisitions. I'm gonna kind of mix it in with discussion of my trips because the yarn purchases would not have happened if I weren't traveling. So yeah. So last week I worked Sunday, Monday, and then on Tuesday morning I caught the subway and went to Union Station in DC, caught an Amtrak train to New York City, got in around 12:30, around lunchtime. It was like 3.5 hour drive. I sat in the quiet car. Quiet car is life. If you have ever been on Amtrak, you might be familiar. Basically, the quiet car does not allow talking, does not allow any cell phone use, and if you talk above a whisper, it's kind of self-policing, like other people will shush you. I love it. It's super chill. I don't need to be conducting business or talking on the phone as I am on the train, so I just knit in peace and quiet, and it was lovely. Highly recommend Amtrak trips, by the way. They are comfy and a nice way to get around, especially if you're on the Eastern Corridor. I could see myself going back to New York via train like at least twice a year, like to go and sightsee or see friends. I think it would be amazing. So that was really nice. I got there, I got myself a subway card because I couldn't find my subway card from my last trip to New York City, and I went on down to Soho. I wanted to visit Pearl Soho, which is a yarn shop down there. They have a hugely popular Instagram. I've been there before, at least 2 times, possibly 3, and I have to say, even though I bought something, I'm not super sure I will go back again anytime soon. It's a beautiful shop. It is so well curated, but they have a very limited selection of yarn, and what they have is not especially my personal preference. So I would certainly go if I'm in the neighborhood, but I don't think I will actively seek it out the way I did this time. I got a sandwich. I found a sandwich shop through Yelp that was amazing. They like fresh cut the meat, and it was like fresh prosciutto. There were like 2 men sitting in the front speaking Italian to each other. It was adorable and super quaint, and I sat outside, and it was a cold day, but I sat outside on a little table and like watched the neighborhood, and that was really fun and relaxing. And then I went over to Pearl Soho, and yeah, it was really nice. I browsed and wandered and came home with 2 skeins of koigu. I have not bought koigu in forever. It's not sold in a lot of yarn shops anymore, at least not the ones near me. And you can see, oh, this is actually representing the color quite well. This is like a very minty green / cream colorway. It is 100% merino. Each of these is like 200 yards, 175 yards. And it is, I believe it is colorway 1051. Solid green blues is what the tag says. So I'm gonna save this for a shawl. I have knit socks with koigu, and they're lovely, but they don't hold up very well over time. So I'm gonna just save this for a shawl. I love this, very pretty colorway. That was my only yarn purchase. Then the whole point of my trip to New York, by the way, was to see a friend of mine who I have not seen in 14 years. When I was a kid, I had a pen pal. I had several pen pals actually, but Liz is the one I stuck with the longest. We started writing letters when we were probably 11 or 12, so more than 20 years ago. And the summer after my junior year of high school, she visited me and spent 2 weeks with me, I want to say, in Pittsburgh area, which is where I lived at the time. And then the summer after my senior year of high school, I visited her. She still lives near Manchester, England, and I visited her family and stayed with them, and we went to the south of France for a few days, maybe a week. Her dad's super into cycling, and we went to see the Tour de France, and that was kind of how I got interested in cycling. Those were the Lance Armstrong years, pre-doping scandal, and we went to the Pyrenees and saw the tour, and it was pretty awesome. So then in college, I spent a semester at the University of Manchester in 2004, my junior year. And Liz's parents were kind of like surrogate parents to me. I saw them probably like 3 or 4 times throughout my 4 months there, so like once a month. They picked me up at the airport, they set me up with groceries in my dorm. Like, they were just so they're so wonderful people. And so I haven't seen Liz since 2004. So she and her husband were coming to New York City on vacation, and they were arriving Tuesday afternoon. It all worked out really well because a week earlier, England had a major snowstorm. Liz had been sick a week earlier. There had been a bad nor'easter a week earlier in New York City. And then another one hit like as I was leaving town Wednesday. They were getting more snow. Pardon me. So it was just kind of, it all worked out perfectly. They got in fine, went through customs fine, and we each stayed at hotels that were a few blocks apart, kind of in Midtown West, like around 49th, 50th Street. And we met up and we had dinner reservations, and we went to dinner and caught up and went to Times Square. And it was just really nice, you know. It was just like a quick one night only hangout, and then they were gonna carry on with the rest of their time in New York, and I went back to Washington Wednesday. I took the train back Wednesday, passed through some really snowy parts of like New Jersey and Delaware. Thankfully my train was maybe 10 minutes late in the end. It was perfectly fine. And yeah, it was really, really nice. I even had time to have a coffee date Wednesday morning with a friend of mine who is a knitter. and was heading into work from New Jersey. So that was really awesome, like just to squeeze in another visit with a friend. So I wanted to show you guys, Liz brought me a present, and I gave her and Dave hand knit hats that I've shown on the podcast before. I knit them for myself, but to be honest, I know I would never wear them, and they've literally been sitting in my closet for months, like, you know, just in my knit container, you know, just being preserved with everything else. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give these hats to Liz and Dave in case they didn't bring hats and it's gonna snow in New York. So yeah, they seemed tickled. So Liz brought me the sweetest thing. She brought me this mug with a hand knit cozy, and look at that, it's personalized. I love it so much. This is by Chi Chi Moi, which is lovingly handmade in Somerset. And it says, all our woolly things are made using only the best ingredients. So this is just a little mug cozy with this tea mug. I have yet to use it, of course, so I wanted to show you guys first. So very, very cool. I love it so much. I love the colors. It's just really neato. Yeah. So that was lovely. And then I came back, worked on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday morning I up and flew to Ohio. Friday was my niece's first birthday, Olivia, and it was a really nice weekend. My dad picked me up and we went to not one but 2 yarn stores. The second one was not planned. I really wanted to go to Yarn It. That was the one I had planned to go to all along. It's in the Grandview Heights area of Columbus, and I've been there several times before. They have like a really good selection of Opal and Lang self-striping sock yarn, and I wanted to check that out. And they do have a good selection of indie dyers too, so it's a good shop, really nice cozy shop, and it's in a great little neighborhood, and there's a butcher shop and a coffee shop right in the same, like there's only 4 or 5 businesses in this block, so it's really great. So I came home with some goodies. I'll tell you first that as we were walking in, my dad said, do you think you could help me find something for your mom here? You know, just to pick out something nice for her? And I was like, yes, I'll be your personal yarn shopper. That's no problem whatsoever. So I did help him pick something out for my mom. One of the reasons I wanted to go was because I really wanted to find another skein of Opal rainbow sock yarn. I knit a pair of socks about 7 or 8 months ago that were Opal Mine Sock and Design sock yarn, and I ended up giving them away to a cousin who just needed some lovely rainbowness in her life. And I'm happy I did it, but I really wanted rainbow socks for myself, knit from Opal. So I didn't find the exact rainbow yarn, but I found this kind of slightly warmer palette, and it has gray in the palette this time instead of blue. And I really like this. I think this is gonna make some great rainbow socks for myself. This is, again, the Opal Mine Sock and Design line, and it's the colorway 9373 Firebird. And here's what it'll look like when it's all knit up. So yeah, really excited about that. And then I asked my dad, I was like, I don't go shopping with my dad very often, and I'm yarn shopping at that, I should say. And I was like, is there anything you want? Like, would you want to pick out yarn for socks for me to make for you? Because he, of all people, my dad loves my socks the most. He loves getting them. He'll text me when he's wearing a pair, and it just makes my day. And I was like, you know, he probably would be excited to pick out his own sock yarn. So we were looking at some of the Lang wool sock yarn, and we ended up getting sock yarn to stripe together. This is a lovely tonal, like a kind of a subtle ombre gray and this bonkers orange. These are gonna make some crazy socks. My dad wears a size 13 shoe. He's got huge feet. So I think that having like 900 yards is actually gonna be much better in the end. And Lang sock yarn is nice because it comes with this little thing of reinforcement thread. So you can use that on the heel to make it even stronger. So, and Lang is like $16 a ball for like 400 yards. It's really, really nice, sturdy sock yarn. So I really can't recommend Lang wool enough. This is Lang wool color, and the colorway is 902.0160. And this is Lang wool colorway 902.0157. So yeah. And so my dad, in the interest of full disclosure, my dad bought me 3 of the 4 skeins at that shop, which was so sweet. So he bought his orange and gray, and then he also bought this for myself. I picked this up kind of at the last minute. I thought this would make some really lovely socks. And this is Langewell color in 902.0052. So yeah. So then we went for pho, and we went to like a store called Micro Center, which is like Best Buy, but if you build your own computers, basically. He wanted to get some things, and then he was like, do we have time for one more stop? And I was like, that depends. What is the stop? And he wanted to go to the train shop, because as I am to yarn, my dad is to trains. So I looked it up on the map, and it's literally 3 doors down from 614 Knit Studio. And I was like, yes, there's time to go to the train store. But while you're at the train store, I'm gonna go to the yarn shop. I have never been to 614 Knit Studio, and I was like, I need to check the scene, check out this scene and see what's up. And I'm so glad I did, because more yarn came home with me. So the first thing I saw was there was this bonkers yarn from Feederbrook Farm. And so it's hand-dyed fiber, but it looks hand spun. But the person who worked at the store told me that it's actually spun at a mill. But doesn't it look like hand spun? This is 600 yards of Superwash merino in the colorway Ox, and it's like bright blues and oranges and browns. And I bought 2 skeins of it to make it's like 1,200 yards now, so it'll make a really nice shawl. So each of these was $36, which seems quite reasonable for like a 600 yarn skein, and one that it looks a lot like hand spun. I'm thrilled with this, you guys. I would have bought even more if I had an unlimited budget. I'm super stoked for this. It is super squishy. I don't think I can accurately show you the squish and the colors, but isn't this amazing? And I just thought this color would be really nice shawl for me. So yeah. And then, because I'm a sucker for sock yarn, they had Primrose Yarn Co. And they had this lovely 80/20 Superwash Merino blend. Really nice twist. I love me an 80/20. And this is the colorway Love Spell. And it's just this lovely pink and white and blips of blue and purple. So super thrilled about that. That is it for my yarn shopping. Holy mackerel, that is a lot of yarn. So the rest of the weekend was spent with my family. We were hanging out with the baby. There was a party on Saturday. She was not into her cake. She did a lot of icing squishing, and then she did not like the icing squishing between her fingers. So alas, no big cake craziness photos to share, but it was a really nice weekend. And then I came home Monday morning and had the day to catch up on sleep and do laundry, and yeah, that's about my trip in a nutshell. And now I'm back at work. Got a lot thrown at me project wise, so I'm actually gonna head to work in a little bit early. I've been doing that a couple days this week. Basically every day this week I've gone in early or stayed late because there's a lot of stuff going on. So on that note, I think it's time for me to wrap things up. I want to say thanks for staying patient with me, as I have not recorded a lot recently, and I hope to get back to a regular every 2-week schedule in April. Here's hoping. So until next time, take care. Happy knitting and yarn stuff and all the things that make you happy, and I'll see you soon. Bye!